Hello everyone, Eli back for another collection video. I'm just doing this one right back to back with my last one just because I had the time and fuck it. I would be starting that video with Celtic Frost Morbid Tales, but I misplaced it. I've shown it in another video anyways, but I misplaced it, so I don't know where it is. That would have started this video because that's where it left off in my collection. So instead I'm going to have to start off with To Megatherion. You're probably all wondering, what the fuck cover is that? And I would say the same thing. I ordered this from a fucking... I ordered this from someone and they totally screwed me over. They did not. This was a photo from the inside of the booklet that for some fucking reason they cut out and glued to the front. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it's that way. I was really pissed off. They did refund me my money and they let me keep the CD. So this is the fucking version I have for now. Yeah. Celtic Frost, what can we say? I've been going over all these classic bands lately and I just feel fucking underwhelmed. I don't know what to say about them. What could I possibly add other than my personal opinion, I guess, which is what this is all about. And my personal opinion is I fucking love Celtic Frost. Easily one of my favorite bands. Not only one of my favorite bands of all time, but one of the most important bands in metal of all time. I do believe Celtic Frost were very responsible for just black metal in general. They're every bit as important to black metal as Venom were, and even Bathory. I think Venom, Bathory, and Celtic Frost are literally, we wouldn't have black metal without them. I'm not saying they're the only important bands, but for black metal, I think those are the top three. I mean, even though Celtic Frost did not consider themselves a black metal band, they don't like the term, at least being applied to the band. They don't want to be considered. They never want to be considered that. They still don't want to be considered that. But it is what it is. So anyway, to Megatherion, I like the earlier, Emperor's Return, Morbid Tales material, but to Megatherion is their best full length, and it is every bit as good as the early stuff. As we all know, they kind of got a little bit weird after that until they got good again at one point, at least in my opinion. They started getting weird, man. They started getting really weird and into the pandemonium. I mean, I guess just looking at the back, you can kind of see that coming with the band photos. Tom G. Warrior in the 80s, for some reason, always just kind of looked like a drag queen. No offense, Tom. I know you're watching this. I know you're a big fan of mine, but yeah, don't take offense. I love you, so you get a pass for me. But anyways, this album, I do like it. Why did they have what's it called, the cover song? They opened this album with a cover song, what's it called, Mexican Radio or whatever? Weird and kind of stupid. I mean, even to do a cover like that, why couldn't they have put it at the end? I mean, once again, I wasn't there when this album came out, but had I been, that probably would have thrown me for a loop. Imagine how many people were just like, what the fuck? What happened to this band? But there are some decent tracks on here. They were definitely, experimenting. There's a lot more of a bombastic sound with a lot more experimental elements, strings and keyboards or whatever, stuff like that, making it almost a bit more like symphonic. I can see this album being a big influence on, what would later become like symphonic black metal bands like Dimmu Borgir and Emperor. I love the cover art though. Cover art's fucking great. That's probably my favorite cover art for the band. That's hard to say though. To Megatherion's pretty fucking awesome. They always did pretty good with cover work. But anyways, I don't have the next few albums after that. Never really saw them as... I thought Vanity Nemesis was okay. Never really felt the need to buy it. Cold Lake. I mean, Cold Lake is Cold Lake. So yeah, we're going to fast forward, quite a few decades, and we're gonna come to Monotheist. I think this is a great fucking album. I think for me, this is like a 9 out of 10 album. It's basically what I wanted Triptychon to sound like, and Triptychon is in this vein, in the vein of this album, but not just, they missed the mark a little bit, not quite as good. But I like Triptychon. But anyway, this is a great album. I didn't quite like it when it first came out. When I bought it when it came out, I felt disappointed by it. For some reason, it was a grower for me, but now I think it's fantastic. I think what's the song called? A Dying God Coming into Human Flesh, track 3. I think is one of the coolest metal songs ever, or at least in many years. So it's definitely a worthy album. I know a lot of the old school Celtic Frost fans, from the '80s, don't dig it, but I think it's great. So, and what do you expect? I think it's literally the best album they could have made in 2006. At least that's my opinion. It doesn't matter. It's a good album, and that's really it. I do have some. This is Celtic Frost related. At least we have in memory of Celtic Frost. As you guys might, a lot of people probably have some of these Dwell Records compilations. Dwell Records was a record label that they put out some original material from bands, but they also put out a fuck ton of tribute albums, and I own a bunch of them, and a lot of them are pretty fucking cool. They're worth. I usually pick them up for like a couple bucks, and they're definitely worth that. So it's just a bunch of bands covering Celtic Frost songs, but they're all cool bands. I mean, Morgion, Enslaved, Slaughter, Mayhem, Inner Thought were okay. Sadistic Intent, Cyanide, Divine Eve, Grave, Apollyon Sun, Opeth. They do a great cover of Circle the Tyrants. I think it's great. Closed Down. Who the fuck is Closed Down? No idea. No fucking idea. But yeah, Emperor and 13. I also don't know who 13 is. So there's a couple oddballs on there, but for the most part, some pretty badass shit. Pick it up. Next we have, fucking goddamn it, I own 2 albums from this band, and I appear to have lost one. I have, goddamn, that pisses me off. Centurion, I have, I think it's their, can't remember the name of it. One of the earlier Centurion albums I own, so I'm not going to be showing it apparently until I find it. But we have Of Purest Fire, which is their first album. Correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say it's a demo or an EP. It's been a while since I've listened to this band, but really good shit. Really good death metal. This one's a little bit more raw, and a little bit more darker edge, almost maybe some black metal influences. I'm not really sure, but Centurion are really cool. Great band. I got this from Hell's Headbangers. Yeah, man, good stuff. Hell's Headbangers re-released a lot of their earlier stuff, maybe all of it. What can you say about Centurion? Death metal from the Netherlands. Fast, brutal, chaotic death metal in the vein of like early Deicide. You probably know who they are. If not, get on it, man. Centurion are cool. Now we have, this is an oddball one for me to own, from 2008. Christ Inversion, released on Phil Anselmo's Housecore Records. Phil Anselmo is on this album, I believe. I think he does vocals. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is a pretty fucking cool album, actually. It's not bad. Raw black metal from the South. No. Okay, he doesn't do main vocals. He plays guitar and he does backing vocals. I'm not a big fan of Phil. Every now and then he participates in something that's decent. And I think this is some decent, raw American black metal. Is it going to change your life? Probably not. If I got rid of this album, would I miss it? Probably not. But I own it, and it's solid. So, yeah. Here's kind of an oddball one for me to own, because I don't know hardly anything like this. I liked stuff like this a little bit more when I was younger. But this is a fantastic album. It's one of those oddballs in my collection, yet I think it's great. It's kind of a classic in its genre. We have Circus Maximus with Isolate. I have heard everything Circus Maximus have done. I don't really like any of it. This is the only album of theirs I like. What do they sound like, you might be asking? Because if you have similar tastes to me, you probably have never heard of this band. You have no idea. Although, looking at that cover, you should know exactly what it sounds like. It is progressive metal. Very much in the vein of Dream Theater and I don't know, other bands that sound like that. They're way cooler than Dream Theater, though. Yeah, it's a lot of wank. It's very circusy, I guess you would call it. It's very metal prog type stuff. Dream Theater is the only comparison I can reach for right now, but there are a million bands that sound like that. Yet I feel like they kind of rise above most of it. They've got a great vocalist. He's more of like an 80s metal sounding vocalist, very talented, and for some goddamn reason, I like the album. I can't even explain. Maybe some of you, is there anyone out there that feels like, you know, feels that way about this fucking album? I don't know why. I don't know why it is, but I like it a lot. I think it's, I'll still play it every now and then, and it doesn't piss me off. I don't know. All right, here's a band that I wish I owned more from, and I don't, and it burns. But we have Cirith Ungol with Frost and Fire, their debut full length. I like this album a lot. It's not my favorite. I do like the album that came after this much more. And even some of the stuff, even some of their later stuff, I think has moments that I like more than some of the shit on this album. But it's still pretty fucking good. It's a classic. Cirith Ungol are they are a mandatory classic doom band. We all know that. Yeah, what more can I say about Cirith Ungol? Classic American doom, not to be missed. All right, we have the only album I own from this band. I'd heard a lot of their stuff, never felt the need to buy it. Although I do like their first couple albums. Cobalt with Slow Forever. This is their most recent album, released Profound Lore. So you've probably heard it. You know who Cobalt are. Kind of cool artwork. Yeah. This is a pretty ambitious album. It's a double disc album. This comes after their original vocalist was exited out of the band, so they had to replace him. What was his name? Phil something. I gotta say, I mean, I don't want to trash on the guy. I think his name is Charlie Fell. I'm not familiar with his other stuff, but not to trash on Charlie. I think he does a pretty good job. But I think what's his name? Phil, or the guy that was in the band before him, I thought he was a much better vocalist in general, better fit for Cobalt, more of a visceral sounding black metal vocalist, this Charlie guy. His vocals are definitely wild and unhinged and chaotic, but I don't like the vocals as much. Sorry, yeah, like I said, I'm not bashing on the guy, but I just don't like his vocals as much as the previous dude. That said, it's a double disc album. It's a lot to take in, and I have listened to it 3 or 4 times, and I think it's pretty good. It's definitely you can definitely tell there's some time put into creating this album. It's not quite as, I'd say it's maybe not quite as black metal sounding, but still pretty good. I don't know, I don't really like it as much as some of the other stuff I heard, like Jinn and Eater of Birds. I don't own them, but I've heard them and I thought they were better albums. But that said, I mean, bands can't put out their best album every time, so it's good for what it is. That's all I can really say. And we're going to leave off with one of my favorite newer death metal bands. They're not super new, but you know, from the last 15 years or so. We got Coffins, more of a doom death, but man, Under the Stench, this album is fucking killer. This is just like the perfect combination of like Winter and Autopsy. This album is so good. Just go listen to the song Under the Stench, the title track. $20 spin, by the way. That song is just one of the most catchy death metal songs I have heard in so many years. One of my favorite death metal songs in many years, and this album is just, it's killer, man. It's dirty, it's heavy, it's catchy, it's great. Everything you'd want in a doom death album, I think. So we'll leave off with that. I'm done doing videos for the day. I just recorded 2, so thanks for stopping by, thanks for watching, thanks for commenting. Take care. We'll talk soon.